And in local news, Utah has lifted a ban on beer sales at large events. Previously, no beer could be sold to anyone while at large events. Now the organizations must adhere to all the rules set forth in the laws, like having adequate police, housing, and roads to accommodate people should they overdrink and find themselves unable to drive themselves home. The organizations are also now allowed to have beer at 2 events a year, compared to the previous 1 event where they were allowed to have beer. This new resolution is only in effect unless people pay the $3,000 upfront fee to cover for possible damages. And in state news, Utah has secured a grant to help reduce the number of drug overdoses. The grant is for $1 million, and Utah has planned to use the money to improve the state database that tracks prescriptions. This is in response to Utah having the 5th highest rate of drug overdoses in the country, with an estimated 21 adults dying every month from prescription overdose. This improvement, planned to the system, would allow doctors to view what prescription someone has at any moment without a delay. Currently, doctors have around a 2-week wait before they can view any active prescriptions that a patient has. The remainder of the funds will go to support new laws that monitor people who get prescriptions to help with other addictions. And in world news, the U.S. has recently included strikes to Iraq to use land-based bombers. This is to help the Iraqi forces regain control of the Mosul Dam. The dam is important to the Iraqi government because it allows them to provide services to the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, their capital, as well as services to the civilians. These efforts are being done with the help and permission of the Iraqi government. The U.S. military has also conducted a total of 25 more strikes recently and has destroyed approximately 20 rebel vehicles. And in economic news, the USDA has recently released a report wherein they estimate the cost to raise a single child. You may be surprised to find out that it's close to $250,000, not including college or other expenses after the child is 18. This is up 1.8% from last year, because inflation has continued to drive the prices for goods up. The report states that about 30% of the expenses come from having to house the children. Child care and educational funds took second place with about 18% of the total cost, with food at 16%. This report also mentioned that the price per child goes down the more children the family has, partially due to the fact that siblings tend to share rooms and clothes, and goods can be bought in bigger quantities. You know, it seems quite astounding that people would pay that much money for a child. It's no wonder that married couples are choosing to have fewer and fewer kids. They could spend the money from a single child on a house or a ridiculously high-end sports car. This doesn't even include the constant time and attention that children need. But we do need the children. It is impossible for our society to stay alive without the growth of future generations. And in world news, the Ebola outbreak has continued throughout West Africa, and more people are at risk with each continued case. Ebola is highly contagious and can be transmitted by any sorts of bodily fluids. The treatment centers are continuing to fill up quicker than they have space for. Some people are also dying before officials can even reach them. The officials are trying to keep the quarantine on the cities so that way the sick people will remain far away from healthy people. They have in some cases resorted to barricading people into their own slums, where people have died and contaminated the water supply. As this happens, they hope to keep the sick people from escaping and furthering the transmission of this disease. The reason they had to quarantine this particular slum was because the residents were furious that they had a treatment center close to their houses, so they took the patients and possibly contaminated medical supplies from out of the center and dispersed it throughout the city. This time around, health officials have agreed that they need to study this disease more fully and figure out where it comes from, if there are any cures, and how to stop it from creating new outbreaks. Currently, this outbreak has killed over 1,500 people, more than ever before. The actual total cases may be higher because some people are afraid to take their relatives in for help. And in national news, a 9-year-old girl accidentally fatally shot a shooting instructor while practicing firing fully automatic guns. This happened just outside Las Vegas, Nevada, in the Lake Mead recreational area. The girl did not realize how powerful the weapon would be and dropped it after experiencing the recoil. It was firing in the air and hit the instructor in the head. This has brought up the concern of the national gun safety and whether there are ever enough safety rules in place where there are fully automatic guns in the hands of children.